How we doing? So today I'm going to be showing you how to create a graphical user interface in PowerShell. I basically learned this from scratch. There is documentation on it, but once you get into the deeper ends of things, it is a free-for-all and a lot of the documentation is in C#. So I just thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a playlist of how to create stuff and complex systems within the PowerShell GUI aspect of things. So the first thing we're going to do is actually add type. The assembly name, and the assembly name is called system.windows.forms. And the reason why we're adding this is so the actual graphical user interface works. Otherwise, when we run the script, it won't be added, therefore it won't work. The next thing we're going to do is kind of create the actual form itself. The box, this is going to be the first pop-up page that occurs when we run it. So I'm just going to call this app container, and we're going to set the variable to equal a new object, because when we create new objects within PowerShell, we have to declare that it's a new object. And what object is it? So you'll start to see familiarities as we go along this. So we're going to do system.windows.forms, and this time we're going to do .form. If you look at the new object and just see what type of stuff you can add, you can see that there's loads of stuff. You can create applications, text box, labels, flipping anything, color depth, you name it. There's a lot of stuff to be added and to learn. So now that we've created the actual form itself, what I'm going to do is be able to declare it so it can run. So what we're now going to do is we're going to do void, and then we're going to do app container dot show dialog, and we're going to close the bracket. Now if we run it, we will see that we've got an empty box. Okay, so all that's happened is on the first line we say, hey, this is the module that we want to use, and then the next line 3 is basically saying, all right, we're creating a new object, it's going to be a form. This whole box is the form, and now we're showing it using the show dialog. It shows the form. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is actually add some text just to the actual app container itself. So now what happens if we want to add some text to our container? So since this is actually just the Windows form itself, the window that displays, let's see, what do you think it is? If I do the text equals Techie Max's app. So when we go to run that now, we will actually see that at the top we have Techie Max's app. Great. Okay, that's what we expect. So now we're going to create some sort of text at the top of the screen, and it's going to say welcome to my app. So we're going to do the welcome message equals a new object, because it isn't going to be the Windows form. New object system.windows.forms. And then we're going to do a text box. And if you're kind of unsure, you think, I think I can add some sort of text, I'm not sure what it is. If you just type text, you'll be able to see all the options for what you could potentially do. So I'm going to do the text box. So now this is got an orange underline on it, and this is because we've created the variable now, but we haven't assigned it anything. So on the next line, we are going to do welcome message dot text, and the text is going to equal welcome to my app. Great. So if we run this now, as you'll see, it's not added directly to it. And why is this? This is because any variables that you create, whether it's a text box, label, you have to add it to the specific window which you want it in. In this case, we're going to be adding it to app container. So what I'll do is I'll do app container dot controls dot add, and now we will add the welcome message. And as you'll be able to see, welcome to my app. Except this time we've used a text box, which is where I can change what the content is in it. So we're going to change that from a text box to a label, because we don't need anyone to input information into the text box. We just want it to display text. So Let me change that, run it again, and now you can see welcome to my app. So what we're also going to do is we're going to do this, and then we're going to make it so it auto sizes, and we're going to, so the .auto size extension is basically a true or false. So you just put it is true. So yes, it's true. I want it to auto size by itself. And now we can see that the text doesn't wrap into like some small box. It just spreads along. And let's think, so it's welcome to my app. It looks good, but I want to push it more towards the center. What do we do for that? So for moving objects, what we are going to actually do is use .location. So the location basically declares what you want to do, and it is done by width by height. So now I'm just going to set some quotation marks, and all you need to do for this is say, how far do we want to push it along? We're going to put it 50 pixels along by, we'll put it 5 down. And now, as you can see, it's been pushed along. It doesn't look good, so let me just up it to 100. Maybe that'll push it towards the center. There we go. That's more towards the center. Welcome to my app. So the next thing we are now going to do is create a new variable, and it's going to be a text box where people can enter their username. So we're going to say welcome page underscore get username, or username TB for text box equals new object. And as you can see, you can start to see that we're creating a new object. We're then assigning variables to it, or we're assigning details to it so it can be represented in the image. And that could be the text, whether it's auto size, whereabouts it's located, how big the frame is, or how big the text is. You can also change fonts and so on. So now we're going to do system.windows.forms.textbox. And now with this, we are going to do, we're going to set the text to username. We're going to make sure it auto sizes. So we're going to set that to true. And what else should we do? I think we should move it down just a little bit as well. So we'll move it down. Location for moving objects equals, let's put this, we'll put it 5 across and 15 down. Right, so if we were to just add this new username text box to the controls, what we'll actually see is that there's an error. So the error says could not find an overload for add argument count 2. So this is because it's just adding the controls.add. That's only adding one variable. It can only add one variable at a time. So if you understand what functions are, for example, if you were going to do a specific function, it's going to do a specific task, then you might want to add only one specific one, and the use case would normally be for that. But as we're creating a whole window, I'm going to have to add a range of variables. So what we do is we change it to add range, and we have to create a new bracket set and then do an at. So it'll go bracket at bracket, and then we just close it. Once this is done, we can now come over here and add the new variable, and as you'll see, if it wants to load, it won't, because we've already got it open. It'll give us the error, and then we'll run it again. You can now see the username. So then, for example, if someone was to click a button, so we'll create a button now and just show this proof of concept. We'll just do the welcome page underscore click me button equals a new object. And as you might be able to tell by now, even without doing it, we'll be adding a button. So we'll add this variable to the controls, and we will set the auto size to true, and we will place it similar to the username text box, we will set it to 5 across, and then we'll put it to 25 down. And if we click on it now, you can see a little box here. We'll need to move it further down. Let's do 45. Alright, cool. So it's currently got nothing in it, and that's because we haven't declared text. If we just do a dot text now, and then set the text to click me. So now that we actually want to see what the username's text box is in the welcome page, username TB variable, we want to see what it is because we might need to create an account for someone or so forth. We're going to, on the button, so basically, let's say it was sign in. Once it's on the sign in, it's got to check for the username and password, but it's got to get those variables. So we're going to do a basic example of how to actually interact with a variable. So what we'll do is we will do a add_click, and we'll do this. So we'll do, once we've done the add click, we will do brackets and then squirrely whirlies, and now we can actually put whatever we want to happen on the click here. So all we need to do now is get this variable, because this is the one that contains the username text box, and we just want to get the text within it. So all we'll need to do is .text, and we want it to output to our command line down here. So we'll just do write host, and now if we run it, we can do Techie Max. Then when I click me, as you can see, the username down here is Techie Max. But this is kind of a basic understanding of everything. So going over everything again, we need to add this. So add the assembly name to Windows Forms. So going over this again, we need to add the type assembly name system.windows forms, because we're going to be using Windows Forms within PowerShell. All new objects will need to be declared. You can then assign it information, variables, pixels, true or falses, after the dot of the variable, after you've made it an object. And then to declare them, what you'll need to do is use the controls, add range if it's multiple variables. If it's a single variable, just use add and take this away. That's all it is. And then lastly, once you have your container, you do show dialog and ensure that voids here, and this will output everything. But this is the first video on how to use the PowerShell Graphical User Interface. If you'd like to see another video or specific areas within this, drop a comment down below and I'll be happy to help. See ya.